I'd like to call to order the Capital Improvement Committee of September 30th, 2020 at 2:07 p.m. First thing on our agenda is review the minutes. We're going to push that off until the end, and we'll go through these items here that are on the list. You want to start with the radio, Matt?
It sounds to me like they're in. You guys want to say something so we can hear you?
Okay, we're going to start off the discussion with the public radio system once Matt gets these gentlemen to call in.
No, they're here.
Yeah. Are they muted?
Are you guys muted? They're trying to say something, we can't hear them.
Did everybody get the updated proposal that Matt sent to me the other day?
Emailed, yeah.
Yeah,
I just
okay.
glanced at it very quickly.
No. Okay. Just
So
making
I
sure
did not memorize it.
everybody
Is this-
has it.
Oh, shit.
September 2020 on it.
Should have a big blue logo on the top. Big blue logo on the top?
No.
No.
Just the one.
Yeah, you have the other one. Comparing the two.
You can make copies if we need to. You want me to make copies?
Thank you, Gene. You want a copy, Ellie?
I don't know.
Sure, can make a couple, but you don't know.
Well, yeah, you know,
Kind of hard to participate without information, but.
well, yeah, just,
They can hear us, we can hear them. This is, I'm going to discontinue this service because there is nothing intuitive about any of this.
Why, we've done this on another committee, on building and facilities, we had Ginger call in and have him on speakerphone. You want to do that? Put him there, a microphone? If that works.
Worked for her, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Last
just
night
trying
our
to
meeting.
get Matt out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted to record at a reasonably good,
Yeah.
and for some,
Testing, testing.
all right, now we can hear you.
Hey, there we are.
People keep
All right.
turning this TV off. There's a sign that says, "Do not turn off the equipment," and yet people continue to do it. Yeah, I'm the guy who goes around the building turning off the lights at night and making sure people's computers are off, but this needs to stay on, so we don't have this issue. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman, it's your meeting. These guys haven't heard it.
What's the gentleman's name?
John, right, John?
We have John, myself, we have Chris, he's our managing director, and we also have our CFO, Mike.
Hello, guys.
Yep, if you
How you
could just
doing?
introduce your company so we have it on record, please.
Market Communications.
Marcus Communications. Yep. Yep. Okay, so do you have a presentation ready for us to explain what this proposal is?
Sure, this is Chris. I will give an overview and then we'll open it up for any questions. So this project started probably about 8 or 10 months, maybe even a year ago now, with some early discussions. We came into the town to evaluate the existing system and what was going on currently, and talk about and discuss some of the deficiencies and the town's desire to change frequency bands due to coverage issues within the town for the switching off of the UHF to a VHF spectrum, the town a little bit better. With that being said, we've come up with a plan to do that, and we did a coverage study and analysis and what's called a microwave path study, make sure we have links to the sites. There's some details of each site that I'll go into, but let me give you an overview first. So it would require utilizing one of the existing sites now. It's the monopole up on the hill behind the firehouse. I believe it's AT&T owns that site now. And the town currently has equipment mounted on that monopole. So that will remain one of the sites. It's 178 feet tall, and that'll be an integral part of providing coverage to the town. The town's a little difficult to cover because of the terrain structure of the area, so it requires 3 sites to accomplish that. The second one is it's a commercial site owned by Industrial Communications. It sits over by on the edge of town. I think it's actually their Webster. You remember what town is attached to?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a 600-foot tower, commercially owned, plenty of space, occupancy, and I'll get into some details of the being on a commercial site in just a moment. Another site would be, this will provide the network connectivity via microwave link into the town's fiber network. So that site would be, and I'm sorry guys, I'm on the last page of the system diagram. You can kind of follow along with what we're doing.
Okay.
You'll see the industrial site, Douglas monopole, and then the fire station. It's not really a tower, it's more of a pole in the backyard of the firehouse. And we can, there's clear view line of sight up to the Douglas monopole, so we can provide a microwave link there. From there, we connect down to the municipal building police station where the dispatch center is located for the console system, and that is utilizing the town's fiber network. And from that facility to the Douglas High School, which is a transmit and receive site, it's part of the radio system. There's multiple sites here, but 2 of them do not contain the radio equipment. They contain microwave equipment to provide the network connectivity necessary for those 2 structures. Now, just a quick little discussion about the high school. Permissions would have to be obtained because we'd be putting antennas up on the roof of the building, and as long as the town zoning or any kind of architectural review committee that you might have would have to approve that, and of course, who was ever responsible for the school facilities. The work would be minimally invasive. There would be what's called tripod structures sitting on the roof with some cabling that would have to come in through a roof penetration, which there's avenues there that exist, or if they prefer, we could use another one to get cabling inside the building. There's space to locate the equipment within the building. We've surveyed that with a facilities person. So those permissions would have to be obtained. We would have to work with your town's IT person, and the name escapes me. We had an email conversation going along confirming that all this was possible. So we know from the town's network perspective, we could accomplish this and utilize the town's IT network. Now, as far as the pole at the firehouse, specifically, that's a town-owned structure and facility, so it's just, I know the fire chief was on board with it. utilizing that. We're down the firehouse. We got a good evaluation of what was going on there for equipment and spaces currently. So we're in good shape there. With Douglas Monopole, it would mean just some minor negotiations with them. It would be more or less replacing the antennas that are there with new. It is really old. And then we would be adding some two microwave antennas to that site. So there'd be some, whatever contract or agreement the town has with the tower owner, just need to be modified and changed to, if anything's even in writing. I know some communities, they might not even have nothing much more than a verbal agreement, but we always recommend let's have something in writing. And we can provide systems with all that sort of documentation. Now moving back over to the industrial site. So this is a commercial site, and the town would have to pay rent on it. And in the pricing overview, we reached out on the town's behalf at the time, contacted industrial, and they gave us a site rent for the town of $800 a month to be on that site with 2 antennas and a microwave system. They would provide, and we would have to pay for tower work. They perform work on their own towers with their own staff. And it'd be of course, some electrical work throughout the entire system, but there'd be some minor electrical work for the proper circuits in their shelter space. Now, as far as the $800 a month goes for rental fee on there, I mean, our experience is that's on a facility of that class with backup generator power available, is included in that fee. That is a very, very good dollar figure for a site of that nature. So, yeah, it comes with a shelter and generator. Wow. Put them on their own generator.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So, I know it's a lot of money, and you have to pay that every month, but from a site rental perspective, that is very, we're kind of happy to see that on behalf of the town. So then let's just move in from the radio system. Now let's talk about what's called the console system a little bit, and that is the interface. For those of you not familiar, it's the interface for the dispatch personnel to talk and operate the radio system and radio channels for mutual aid and surrounding communities. Currently, right now, it's an older, antiquated system, and pretty much it's at the end of its life. And we would replace that with a brand new system, 2 positions, enough for 2 dispatchers at the police department, and there would be a 3rd backup spare position over at the firehouse. They would be identical because they're networked together, so it would be identical. So should the police dispatch area have a problem where it has to be abandoned, the building has to leave the building, you could go to the firehouse and have the same console environment for the dispatchers to work on over at that facility. So there's redundancy built into that, and it's will be a good, should some unfortunate incident happen at the PD, it's a good place to begin operations again.
Or in reverse, you could do it. The fire department could come here, where this would be the potentially emergency command center, correct?
Yes, yeah, and quite frankly, as long as we have, you can add on to this system, this console system, without replacing anything. All we need is a network connectivity, meaning a site that has a microwave linked to it or one of the town's fiber network connections at a particular building. Not that you would probably ever want to do this, but for example, you could put another 4th position over at the high school if you want to, because that would be part of this public safety network. So you can locate it almost anywhere in town that you have that fiber link. Now, there's a couple more caveats to this. Of course, we have to, if we don't anticipate any problems, getting proper licensing for the microwave so it's protected. We don't deal with any interference. It's a relatively easy, minor process. Takes about 45 days or so in total. We do not see any sort of issue with that whatsoever. As far as the actual frequencies that the police, fire, and the rest of the town agencies and public works utilize, in order for this to work, this proposal to work, we would be taking the town's VHF frequency that Public Works is using, repurposing that into police and fire. So the police and fire have 2 VHF channels. So they're completely interoperable with each other. That would require us obtaining a 3rd channel for the Public Works to operate on. That becomes a little bit more difficult, but we do this every day. It takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of money, which we've included in this proposal to accomplish that. It requires a frequency search, then we have to work with coordinations, other towns to be able to do this. We've done some initial legwork on this, so we could at least say with confidence it's possible to do it, and it's not a big no, we can't do this, so we at least know that once we go through the whole engineering process and permissions and so forth, that we stand a good fighting chance of getting this accomplished. But there is, full disclosure, there is always a caveat that we could run into some unexpected, unforeseen issues, sort of licensing. There are other contingencies that we could consider doing this, but we're trying to desire on the fire department, police department side was interoperability. So we're trying to keep this with all within the VHF band. Because getting frequencies on any band is very difficult. This happens by where the town of Douglas is located. You're kind of in between a lot of things, so it's hard to get new frequencies in this day and age. So that was the intent of moving the frequencies around to try to bring the town to some degree of interoperability on a public safety level basis. Now, the school system operates on what's called UHF. You know, unfortunately, we don't think that we're going to be able to get another license for them, so they will have to remain on their current radio system and continue to operate on UHF. As we were directed with the police and fire department on our initial conversations, that was fine with everybody. So that's what we decided to do there. So that's kind of the 20,000-foot overview of what we've come up with here for you guys, and we'll come up for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
It wasn't AT&T that owns the Church Street Tower, it's American Tower that owns it. They bought it from Verizon.
Okay, American Tower, yeah, we're familiar with them. We work with them a lot.
John, do you have a question?
Yeah, the interoperability, the DPW is included with that system as well, correct?
Yeah, so what's, as far as with interoperability, the issue with interoperability is frequency bands, right? So, one of the things that we're proposing and could propose is you use multi-band radios. Because the difficulty, like I said, the intent is to come off of that VHF channel, have the police and fire on VHF together, and that's what we're able to accomplish here.
I think you meant to say come off the UHF channel.
Yeah, come off the UHF channel, and both police and fire will be VHF. That's about without going to extremely expensive radios and multi-band radios. That's about the extent of the interoperability. What we can say is a lot of the surrounding towns are VHF, so you have interoperability from that perspective. You can have your surrounding towns programmed into those radios, and they will function very well.
Anyone else? Yeah, Shirley, I didn't think of it when I acknowledged Ellie. We have a new minute taker, so state your name so then it'll make it easier for her to do the minutes, please.
Shirley Mazinski. I believe when you were talking about the tower on Douglas Road lease, you mentioned there was also a backup of a generator there included in that price?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Chris, I have a couple questions for you. I just try to jot them down. Mike Fitzpatrick. On the, I'll just start from the top. On the monthly charge of $800 with that tower, how stable is that is that fee? I understand in your opinion, it's a reasonable fee, but how stable would that fee be going forward, do you anticipate? I know you have no control over it, but it's something that should be part of the thought.
I think usually what we'll normally see is anywhere from 1.5% to 3% annual riser on that. But this is public safety, and I think it, and I can't make any guarantees to this, right? Because they're a commercial business, they own hundreds of towers across the country.
Yeah.
But normally what industrial does is they don't put a riser escalator on public safety, at least that's what we're told. That would be up for negotiation.
Okay, who does that? The town administrator or your company? On the beginning stage, as we move forward, obviously it would be the town administrator, but initially it should be part of the discussion if we're going to enter into a lease option with them.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly assist in the lease itself would obviously reside with the town.
Yeah.
It's whatever your wishes are. I mean, we could certainly reach out to them. We know them.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of power over them. We don't have a very close relationship or anything like that. We're just business to business. We've done some dealings with each other in the past. They're pretty much a straight up honest company. They're not, they're not, unreputable or anything like that.
No. My thought process is that we're all on even ground right now. It's better and the best time to ask that question instead of after the fact. But
Yeah, because there need to be a lot of data that would be provided, even if the town administrator were to take that negotiation out. Listen, we could do it on your behalf. We could sit next to you while you're doing it. But certainly, no matter what, we'd have to provide a bunch of engineering data to them and obviously project manage the whole thing. So we're at that included.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. A couple more questions. The batteries that, is there battery maintenance for these particular towers? I've seen in some notes from the Sutton Fire Chief, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, so what we normally do with public safety grade systems, we build what's called the DC power plant. They operate on AC mains at the same time. That saves us from having UPSs, power switches, cutovers, all the other troubles that are associated with UPSs and the heavy maintenance of UPSs. So yes, the short answer is yes, there's battery maintenance that's about every 3 or 4 years. You're going to have to change out the batteries. One of the beauties of our system is right now we're designing to give you 8 hours of runtime at each of your sites, except for the industrial tower because they have a generator there. The Douglas Road Tower has a generator there, and we were supposed to be, or the town was supposed to be on those circuits, but the town is not. So we would have to reconfigure if the permissions was given to, I think it's we were an 18-team shelter where the town was in. And the intent was to share that generator.
Can you say that again? Is that the monopole?
Yes, that's monopole, yes, correct.
So we've got all this stuff up on the monopole, and we're not on any of the circuits on the generator?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, it was miswired.
Welcome to Douglas.
There's batteries up there.
All right, so,
At that particular amount of time.
all right, Chris, if we were to change the batteries today, what would the cost be? I'm just
For your
trying.
existing system, or
Yeah, if you had a system right now and I said we had to change the batteries today, what would they cost?
yeah, so you're probably
8
yeah, I mean it would be 2 of them per site, so
They cost somewhere around 800 and something, maybe 820 each. And then we just it takes 2 men to carry them, to get them up there, get the old ones out, so a few hours on site. So
probably about $1,000 a site every 3 or 4 years. Now we could always drop about $800 off of that if you just want to go down to battery capacity. We just figured giving you guys 8 hours of runtime, that would be.
No, we're not, I'm not looking to cut it back. All I'm trying to do we also have the finance director sitting in the room with us. So I want to make sure that we're thinking of all the associated costs with this project so we can make an educated decision, that's all. So you're looking at, if we change the batteries on a site today, it's approximately about $1,000.
About $2,000 per.
$2,000, because I heard the other guy say it was $800 per battery, and you said $1,000, that's why I asked the question again. So it's about $2,000.
Yeah, 2,000. So there's two batteries, so that's 1,600, plus it's a two-man job because of the batteries are
Correct.
so large.
Yep.
One person.
Yep, no, I followed the conversation, I just wanted to make sure it was clear, that's all.
Wait a minute, though, there's a per site, so
Per site.
2,000 per site, so how many sites? 2?
3.
3. So
And
6,000.
then we have, and then as far as the console system that resides at the PD and at the firehouse, those are smaller, typical computer-based UPSs. So those have to be considered in there too, every 3 or 4 years, how, it's like any UPS you use on a computer system.
Yeah, so it'd be on the same cycle, so those are considerably less, one guy can carry them in?
The UPS.
Yeah, I know.
The position, UPSs are somewhere around $150, and then the back room UPS for the console brains, those are more like $800 each. Those.
Yeah.
And how many of those we need?
So you're going to need 3 of the smaller ones and then 1 of the larger ones for the console system.
So 150 times 3, and then
Yep.
800 times 1. Okay,
Yep, correct.
all right. Anybody else have a question on the batteries? No? Okay, I'll save the last question for last. The radios, they went up about 14% over the last 9 months. Is that just like the annual upcharge for these, or is this something we should anticipate they may go up again by the time we get this voted in and approved and installed?
When you say the radios, are you referring to the subscriber unit or for the infrastructure?
I'm talking about the fire department VHF portable radios, Kenwood NX5200K2. You have 14 of them at $15,541, which comes out to $1,110.07. On the proposal you did in January, the same unit was $987. So they went up about 14%.
14%, did we change colors on the housing?
There was, I think there was a housing change.
Okay, so if we go down to the police department ones, which don't have the, but they do have a leather case, so maybe that's a difference. They're $1,009 a piece, so they went up 12% maybe.
Yeah, we were probably trying to anticipate any year-end price increases too.
Yeah.
Probably won't be providing anything before the end of the year price increase. So,
Yeah, I mean, and that's right, is one of the things that, because we're at the budgetary stage at this point, we're not sure when the project moves forward, so we're trying to protect, when we put budget numbers out, we try to protect this for, at least a year moving forward.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it does make sense that that would be about the correct increase that they're going to go.
Yeah.
All right.
That'd be 2 increases from last price until next year. So,
And just so you understand, we're trying to do the same thing, because we go to town meeting, we try to get money, and then we'll find out that the radios cost $3 more, and now we don't have enough money, and then we're back doing that again. So that's why I'm asking you that question.
Yeah, we were always trying, I know we didn't put that specific item in writing, but yeah, we're always trying to protect and predict if this thing happens a year from now, we can still use the same pricing.
Okay. At our last meeting, we spoke about your proposal that came in January, and you had the 3 towers on there at $439,373, which now they're $473,803. Matt thought possibly we would need maybe one less unit, one less tower. Is that possible, or that was just hopeful thinking?
No, I think
I'm
I'll
sorry.
answer that. That was confusion about how we were going to get to the schools.
Okay, yep. It's just because it's part of our last meeting in the minutes, I want to make sure
Yeah,
it's clear.
I
That's-
forgot about the fiber backhaul
Yep.
and
Yep.
how that was going to
Yep.
work for us.
That's fine. One final question from me on this is the tower that's going to go on the roof of the school, have you thought of this, the roof loading on that? How heavy is this thing? Because we just had that school
Yeah,
built
so-
recently, and I don't know what the roof load is, but when you start putting a dead load on there, we have to consider that.
Yeah, so that is one thing that is, well, let me describe what the system is. So it's not a tower per se, it's what's called a tripod. And it's, I would say 99.9% of the time, it's a distributed weight load. It's going to be about 600 to 700 pounds, which if you think about it, obviously depending on size, if that's a few people standing up on the roof in one spot. It's distributed over a 13-foot diameter circle, and almost virtually equally, plus or minus a few pounds. It's not a tall structure. It's about, the total height, I think, is somewhere around 11 or 12 feet. There's an 18-foot antenna that is attached to that. So it's not, it's a big structure, but it's not like it's, when you imagine a tower that's on a roof, it's not as onerous.
Oh, yeah, no, and I'm not thinking of it as size. I'm just purely from a loading standpoint, because I would assume that this would need to go through the building department, and then we're going to get into the loading problems on the roof. He's going to want to know what the pound per square foot is added to that roof to compare it to the design that it was done. So I'm just trying to prevent this problem from coming up, try to address it at the beginning. I don't know if any calculations have been done on
We can
that.
provide, after we figure out all the exact specifics, placement and everything, we can certainly provide full engineering data, how much precisely that is going to weigh.
Right, well, we need to make sure that the building can handle it, because if it can't, now we have another problem that we have to try to shore up that roof in order to support this antenna. So I guess that would be a good thing for us as a committee to consider if there's any additional charges that may come with this as well. Again, trying to prevent going to town meeting to get something appropriated to make sure we can get it done. That's all I have. Anybody else have any questions? Shirley?
Yep, Shirley. So overall, what's the final figure?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Is this well, he has some other questions that he has to put into it. I would think that, or I would suggest that Matt work with them and just add these, we have some other little costs that are buried in here, the batteries and things like that, to make sure that the quote's accurate, and then, I guess then we'll get a final cost. But we also need to know.
Our recommendation too would be is to carefully scrutinize the number of radios, make sure the counts for each department are accurate. Our experience is that sometimes it's difficult for towns to figure out sometimes precisely, but that certainly I would recommend it should try to get a good accurate inventory of what you really need for radios.
Okay.
What do you want, a pen?
Didn't we give them the, where did you get the numbers you used? Wasn't that from us?
Had to be.
It's 14, 5, and
We were
25.
populated by, I think, John Combs, I believe. It wouldn't hurt to have, just took a look at this just to go over, make sure nothing's changed since since we started this process. Make sure the counts are right, that's all. Just make sure you have the right to, the last thing we want to do is run into a situation where we're short radios or got too many on there or that type of thing, so.
I guess my only question is for John, because you have 2 highway and 2 water.
Yeah,
Was that your intention to have
it
only
was,
2?
yes,
Okay.
because if we're doing traffic, that's why we want them.
Okay.
One for each end of the,
So what, but now they have mobiles in your trucks.
yes. If I get guys standing out doing traffic, they need
All
a
right.
portable radio. Same with water sewer if they're doing a job.
Am I missing something? So in public works or highway, let's call it highway, it's more accurate. We're gonna put a mobile in every vehicle, but we're only gonna have 2 portables?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what is everybody else gonna use? They're just not gonna use a radio?
Well, they have one in their trucks when they're
Oh,
driving.
when they're driving, so they're not gonna get out of, all right, I get
Yeah,
it. I get it.
yeah. If we're on a construction site, a guy on each end of the construction site can say, the yellow car's the last car, and I'll send your group through and what have you.
Should there,
I guess all that means, though, is if you hop out of your truck to look at a tree that's down or wires or something, you're not gonna be on your radio until you come back to the truck,
Right.
if you're not one of the 2 guys with the,
Correct.
that's not the end of the world. They're not gonna wander so far away.
John just wants to get away from the radio.
There you go. That's not a bad thing.
Should there be a consideration for the school department having any of these for emergency situation, whether it's in their principal's office or whatever the case may be?
Without getting into a lot of detail around our emergency planning for the schools, we were comfortable with leaving them on UHF.
Okay.
When they're in session, the school resource officer is one of the people who would be able to bridge both
Okay.
to get into the public safety system and the school system. They manage students and staff assignments for bus unloading and loading and what's going on in the building. There's a lot of chatter on their system.
I'm not.
So, no, I'm just explaining why we went and kept them out. And that's fine. Once they're in an emergency situation, we've significantly upgraded their panic buttons, and they do have an allotment of radios that will talk to our base station.
Mike?
Yes, Ellie?
Yeah, Ellie. I have a question. I know we're capital, so what we're looking for is that, what you had said, Shirley, that what's the bottom line for all these capital items? I'm curious, too, because as just a voter in Douglas, what the annual cost of these things are and how much your annual budgets for highway and police and fire are all going to go up, if they are or not.
Right, and that's why I was asking the questions about the leasing of the towers,
Yeah.
as well as the battery maintenance, so then not only the department head, but the finance director, the administrator could calculate those costs into that. I believe that the proposal is to pay for this up front, so we're not going to have a residual cost on the equipment. We're going to pay for the equipment. It would only be the lease and the battery maintenance. That'll be a yearly thing or a monthly thing. In this particular case, a monthly thing for the antenna. On the batteries, that's every 3rd year. So whether they break it up to each year, they just carry over. I don't know how that works. That's Gene's job. But if it's $3,000 to do the batteries every 3 years, and then every year they have $1,000 in their budget, and then they end up with their $3,000.
You know, you'd have to budget it on the 30.
Okay, yep, okay.
You know, depending on, so you look at $9,600 a year just for the lease piece, and then they can correct me if I'm wrong, I had trouble following, it was like $7,250 for the battery, like if you included everybody?
You had 6,000, 6,800, 7,250.
Yeah, so 70, and that's without any increases.
Correct. That's today's cost. That's what I asked them.
So that would have to be budgeted every 3rd or 4th year. You can't use 1 year's budget to pay a future yearly expense.
Chris or John, what's the longevity of this equipment? Is something we have to consider that in 5 years, 10 years, 100 years for upgrading the equipment, changing the equipment, whether it's the antennas or the radios?
So this is Chris again. So yeah, so the target lifespan for this is about 15 years. You know, there is the design of the antennas and cables and everything is exposed to the weather outside. That is also gauged at about 15 years. Do some people get more? Sure. Some people have some weather issues, weather-related storm damage and stuff in a shorter time period on outside equipment. Yes, that does occur. But the target, and I think it's pretty solid. You can bet you're going to get 15 years out of this.
Yeah. What, the consoles as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
The consoles, it's almost in perpetual, so to speak, because the consoles today are based off the software, so the actual software functioning itself, and you just change out their computers, on a 3 to 4 year cycle. You can replace the computers. Do some people get more and less? Yes.
I got you.
Some people stretch that. We've seen to 6, 7 years, but that's really pushing our luck in a big way. It's a lot of risk. to go
Okay,
that long.
all right, so you just exposed another cost of this computer upgrade every 3 years. What would, if we change the computer today, what would that cost?
Positions?
Yeah, we get the higher, the public safety grade Dells, they're about $800 to $900 right now.
Times how many?
What a-
Times 3,
Times 3, and then there's the rear
and the 2 servers.
services. Servers are usually a little bit more than that, so we're about 1,000.
Yeah, 1,200, but $1,100.
All right, I'm gonna take that high at 1,200 that you said, times how many?
3, we said?
I know, let him answer. Times 2?
2 servers.
Yeah.
Now, that's where we have to talk to our IT guy. We just bought 2 brand-new servers for the police department.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what they're assigned to. I think one of them's assigned to CJIS.
If the town has, any kind of contract goods, pricing level stuff, I mean, the town is certainly welcome to buy those PCs and we can integrate them into there. You don't have to buy the PC replacement through us.
Bruce Marcus, I just entered into this, and I think I know where the thinking is over there. These servers are not a 5-blade big server. They're a dedicated computer with a couple of hard drives in them, and they're an upper level for the server portion of the console. They're not huge machines. They're not the kind that run other equipment, and we do not put the console servers sharing any other servers. They're all dedicated, independent, separate things.
Yeah, so the town is certainly, I mean, what Bruce is trying to say is the town can buy their own service. They're not anything super special.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is just identify any soft costs that we haven't discussed, just so for budgetary purposes moving forward, so we know what's in front of us.
All I would add to this, though, is that no matter what position we run, this is already part of what we do as a budget exercise. We'd be adding a position to the fire station, so there's a little bit extra cost. The driver here is the IMC annual software licenses. Far more expensive than any of this, and we'll pay that no matter what.
Yeah, but these are just components that need to be changed.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's all I'm trying to figure out, just to identify what,
yeah, there's a
Cost
difference
that we
between
may
what it
have.
costs versus what is a new cost.
what it costs versus a new cost.
What do you mean, a
So
new position?
we have a system today,
Yeah,
right, that has, all of this stuff has batteries and software upgrades and computers. So it's the net is their actual annual operating budget difference. I can't give you that number right now, because I'd have to do some research on what it costs us.
So this isn't in addition to, this is replacing our current system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, some costs will be higher than today's cost, but they're not added on, they're netting out.
okay, so maybe I didn't ask the question correctly, is if we had the system in place today, and he's saying that we have to change the computers or the
Yeah.
hard drives or whatever every, or what a servers, whatever they are, every 3 to 4 years. So if we have the system today and you had to change it, what is the cost? And I think that's what he gave me. That's all. I wasn't getting into the software and all this other stuff, assuming that we had the system up and running. I'm just looking to see what our projected cost would be for that, that's all. I'm totally on board with you and what you're doing. I'm just trying to identify some of the costs that weren't on this particular piece of paper. That's
Yeah,
all.
all I'm saying is that's a fair question, but the people who are listening need to remember that if, let's say, we're going to replace something in 3 years from now, we buy it new now, because it's a new system, and then 3 years from now, we pay an expense. If we don't change the system, there'd still be some of these costs, because our existing system has operating costs.
Yeah,
built
no,
into it.
absolutely. Yeah, the whole purpose of we're going through this is our systems are outdated and we're operating off 3 different systems.
Yeah.
So,
We go up to
Yeah.
the tower
Yeah.
at Ellie's and change the batteries,
Right.
like we're going to do to this system.
yeah,
Well, when we
On
know they've run
occasion.
out,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
nobody's been asleep at the switch.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you how appalled I am that that generator isn't hooked up to our circuit.
Yeah.
But when I added up everything that's in their quote here, I know you already did it, so let's check our math.
No, I didn't do it yet.
749,378,
What was that again, I'm sorry?
749,378.
Yeah.
I rounded up there 72 cents.
You did, round up, yeah.
Because Jean's over there counting the quarters.
Yeah.
There's a change shortage in America right now, so she couldn't run over with the 28 cents. But it's 749,378.
And that's,
That's all in without taking into
But I do
consideration.
round up for budgetary purposes, so that's
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God help us, if this was a personnel compensation table, we'd be in trouble.
Okay.
But,
So what's
So-
the 449, 378?
749. That would get us up and running, correct, Chris or John?
that's all in.
Yeah,
740,
that's all in
That's
for
the
your,
question there.
3 to 4 year outlook for
How
me.
much?
749?
749,000.
Completely done.
78,
Okay, so that's all of these things,
give or take.
okay.
Can we put in somebody to find John if he's too far away from his truck?
Got a chip me.
But yeah, that's just it. We're all getting a
Okay.
vaccine with a chip
Yep.
in it, so we'll find.
So the only concern that I have in all this is what that loading is on the roof to see what that's going to do to that. That's all. Because that could be another cost that's in there somewhere.
Yeah, and we'll be careful. I mean, the nice thing about that structure is the high school, is there's a lot of steel on that structure, so. But, yeah, you have to, there's snow and other loads that have to be taken into consideration up there. Now, this is where the conversation, I don't know if you wanted me to turn this way, Mr. Chairman, or not, but this project was approved by town meeting as a portable radio replacement project now, this is where Gene is going to get me on my,
500,000?
no,
No, 173.
173.
That was on 5/6/19.
And you also got a report from Gene on those projects that have closed out with a balance.
Which I forwarded everybody the email.
Yeah, and
So
In the
we're
body
not,
of the email.
we're not looking to swallow
It's
the
going to be on a
749.
page like this.
okay.
You
I
didn't print it out?
No, but it
You can
came
look.
like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm not an IT guy.
Once from his phone, once from his tablet, and once from his desktop.
Yeah,
At least you got it.
yeah. Well, then I can't figure it out. I got to call somebody. Can you help me?
I don't know if this will help you, Bruce Marks again. Yesterday, one of our dealers in Ohio pointed out there's some CARES money available that can be filed for by December 29th to use for anything related to COVID. Some people are buying police cars with it. It's pretty loose where the application of the money can go. So you might want to take a look at it.
I don't like this one. I
No, you
liked it
might
with
do the
the
chip
total
wrap as well.
amount and what was left over. It was a much nicer,
What, this?
yes. Like that one better. It says
I didn't like that one. I like the condensed, just tell me what's left.
It's easier to read for the blind guys.
Okay, does anybody else have any more questions for Chris or John?
I don't.
Appreciate your time, guys. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add, but I just figured I'd give you the courtesy in case you have something else you have to do.
Yeah, no, we'd just like to express our thanks for the opportunity, and, we look forward to working with the town through this, and we just thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So more context, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This final figure, that 749,378 figure, is very much in line with Northbridge and Sutton's costs over the last couple of years to do a similar project. So that gives us, we tried everything we could to avoid this level of expenditure, but it seems to me, and I think I've already made this point once, but I think it's valid to make it again. If you replace all your radios and you put some new doodads up, so let's say you spend $250,000, but you still don't have a radio system that actually performs at public safety grade levels, you wasted that $250,000. Because you're still going to know that when you're at the edge of the range of the transmission, or if you're deep in the building at the school campus, you're not going to have a radio. And when other towns come here, they're still not able to talk to us without any number of problems occurring. You know, I hear the Sutton chief come over the radio from time to time and they'll say, "Oh, we're in Douglas, turn off your repeater because you're going to blow everybody up." And if somebody doesn't remember that, they do that. They blow everybody up, and they can't talk to anybody at all because everybody's interfering with each other. And this does not happen rarely. It happens from time to time. And you can, as an outside person, when you listen, you can tell that people are missing each other because they're asking people to repeat messages, or like Chief Belcedo coming over and saying, "Remember, you're in Douglas, you need to turn this and that and the other thing off." So we should look at the microwave simulcast, so that's the 400-something thousand number, as a one-time expense to solve the radio coverage problem in town. So when you're on Southwest Main, or up at the high schools, or in some, may not fix every low spot on Davis, but it is going to help on Davis. You will actually, the public safety responder, will be able to communicate on your radio. Whereas today, that's not a given. The ongoing expense of this, 15 years from now, or whenever the portables and mobiles need to be replaced, hopefully the existing infrastructure for coverage will still be valid, or it may only need to be replaced in part. You're going to replace the handheld radios and the mobiles, the cars on a more frequent basis.
He was saying that the towers would need to be upgraded.
Some of the stuff that's going to be out in the weather, you don't really know how long it's going to
Right.
last.
Yeah.
You hope for it to be better than 15, but in a
So-
way, I guess that doesn't really totally pan out, because if they say everything's 15, then everything's 15. But I'm willing to bet you that there are going to be things that we buy in this round that we won't have to replace, like the tripod itself, or the generator itself. The generator should do better than 15.
Yeah. So getting back to the three antennas, so we have one on the school, we have one at the fire station, we have one up at the town line.
And the monopole on the water tower,
So it's not, the cost isn't 473 divided by 3. The cost of the antenna is greater than that, because it's not broken down to show what to retrofit that antenna that's up on
yeah, it's going to vary.
Webster line.
The most expensive are going to be your 2 locations with the microwave,
Okay.
because that's a brand-new antenna and equipment to service that. And
It would have been helpful to try to put your head around this if they had broken that out, say, the antennas are going to cost you this, and to retrofit the tower up at the Webster line costs this, because right now, because you made the assumption that we were going to divide it by 3 and we take one out, which it wasn't.
yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to how we're going to get the schools in. And what we want to do there, there's a lot of history behind this conversation. The original thought was we would have 3 towers, and one would be up there.
Yeah.
And this would be the same kind of expense as the Webster Tower and the Monopoly. As it turned out, it did not substantially improve coverage to have such a big tower up there. And its line of sight to the other microwave location wasn't, it really didn't even exist at all.
Yeah.
So there was no use having a 3-tower simulcast with the tower at the high school. Because in the original part of the conversation was, well, do we need that at all? What we struggle with is, where are you likely to be in the school building if there's a problem in the schools? Well, you may be inside the building, deep inside the building, in the boiler room or somewhere else. And if there's no signal getting down there, then you're incommunicado, and that's
Right.
precisely what you don't want. So we're going to have a broadcast facility at the schools, but it's for the benefit of the campus and the immediate surrounding area, and to penetrate the buildings. And we're not using it to simulcast or to quote-unquote vote from a guy's mobile reporter if he's out there. So I hope that helps explain.
Yep.
But the other thing is, well, it is going to vote, but it's not going to be on microwave. It's going to connect to the schools and then on the fiber network back to the rest of our radio system.
Okay, so the thought process is for this year's meeting would be the radio system?
Yeah, so the recommendation I'd like to make, this was last year's #1 priority. Most of the rating factors that informed the committee's decision to make that your #1 haven't changed, because it's the use that the radios are put to that led to its being prioritized. What has changed is the cost of doing it properly. You have the money that town meeting already approved, you have those projects that have closed out and are able to turn back their balance. So your ask from town meeting, and that's where I don't want to guess.
468,000 rounding up.
So let's call it 468 would be the ask from town meeting. We haven't certified free cash yet, but I've seen the pieces that have come in.
Well, we have just the
And-
balance of last year's free cash.
Yeah, I'm not even worried. So the way I'm looking at this, Gene, is I look at what we rolled over from year to year as not sacrosanct, but it's what we want to kind of think of as not available until we're through COVID.
Well, I'm just
Because it
looking
might
at
be a
that,
COVID
that's
funding
fine.
source.
That's the starting point, that's all.
That's your starting point, but I'm looking at it differently. I'm looking at, did we this year have enough new free cash come on to cover this project and still turn some back into free cash, either for snow and ice, God forbid we have a bad winter, or for some other emergency, or it just accrues to the rollover from one year to the carry forward, so that our cushion for fiscal '22 would still grow from what it was this year, but you still did the project. Am I making any sense? I look at, I don't want to dip into the, well, whatever it is, 1.4
So
million.
you're looking at starting at 0.
Starting at 0,
With
and does our new growth for this year, plus the turn back from the school bus contract and other things that got turned back, plus some pretty hefty revenue in the building department from building permits and other things. All of that is going to close to free cash that'll be certified in late October, or in a couple weeks.
So, let me word it differently to make sure I understand you. The turnbacks, which is a little over 800,000, the money we received in excess of what we budgeted, new growth does not factor in the free cash, would be part of the free cash calculation for October, in addition to the free cash that was not spent.
Right. Where does the new growth go?
That is available for appropriation in FY '21. So that would be a raise in
All
appropriation.
right, I still think I'd throw it all to one bucket, but all I'm trying to say is I'd like to look at it within the confines of a year, because what we had up to this year is the rainy day fund, and it's still raining out. So let's leave that alone, but if we had a decent year with turnbacks and things that are gonna close to free cash enough to cover this project, the recommendation would be do the project because it's needed, it was the number one priority, and frankly, you can afford it because you're still gonna be turning something back even after the capital project is done.
Now, I'm going to add one more source of revenue, and it's for the building here. We did 3 projects with the HVAC, the first floor windows, and I'm going to forget the third one again. There's $67,000, that's in the long-term capital account because there was some component that we borrowed, but there was enough free cash used that we can transfer that 67,372.53. And when I do transfers, they have to be to the penny, unfortunately. So I would propose use that as a funding source as well, because the last 3 transfers in were from free cash. So that's also available. So that reduces, if Matt's okay with that, that reduces that as well, that ask. So that 468 is reduced again by like 67
And change, so it took close to 400, which is kind of where I hoped we would end up.
And the audit is also like, that's one of the things that they asked me, like when they don't like to see accounts stagnant without a reason. So I looked in the long-term capital section, because there's usually a borrowing component, I have to look at what makes up that number, what makes up that residual number, to see if it's appropriate to even use it as a pay-as-you-go capital. So I think it would be appropriate in this case. And I did look at the library renovation, Ellie.
Yeah, I see it's not on here anymore.
Well, it's on the long-term capital, which is what I gave you last, that's the pay-as-you-go capital. It's on the other.
Okay, and that's at home.
There's a $3,615. That actually came from overlay. That was
Overlay.
overlay, yeah. I mean, you technically could use it.
Yeah, because Justin said, oh, well, it's yours. And I said, no, it's not ours.
That was for November 15, 2010. There was $49,000 for library renovation design.
Which, what was the date on it?
I'm sorry?
2010.
2010.
Yeah. Again, because the library has always come up, I have never used that, even when we did the school projects, because, you try to do like items with like items or the purpose behind it. So that's why that balance is still out there.
But you gave it to Justin?
I didn't, no.
Or to the library?
No, it's not given to anyone.
Well, yeah, because he keeps on trying to claim it.
Good try.
Did you find a gift?
Well, no, he all of a sudden had it as part of his municipal appropriations in this year, and I said, no, it can't be, because we've already, we haven't, the town meeting has to vote to give it to the library or whatever, So you've got to explain to him what it is, because he's, well, I'll figure it out by the next meeting, I'll classify as something else, but he's owning that.
No, he doesn't own it.
Well, tell him what to do with it.
She'll tell him.
If he's accounting for it as an account,
Yeah.
it is called the library renovation design account.
Okay.
So, but he cannot utilize it without town meeting repurposing it or transferring it to something.
Okay, and that's what I tried to tell him, but,
He can-
but he talked to you, and he has a different understanding,
And
so,
I will be happy to speak with Justin.
okay.
And he'll have a totally different understanding.
You're right, exactly.
So that's a recommendation, Mr. Chairman. You don't have to take my recommendation, just, if you look at your other projects that are on your list, and you feel like you want to ask fall town meeting, it's up to the committee, not the town administrator.
Right, yep. No, I wanted to know what
The
your,
generator project was the
Yep.
number 2 rated project, and we're short on that, too. And I'd like to spec that out a little bit more carefully
correct.
to get you a good number for that. The remainder of the items, we have either completed or have projects lined up from that capital budget.
There's some that haven't been done.
There are some things that are waiting,
Yeah,
but they are projects in progress. It's not like the generator and the The radios.
Right. We-
Well, senior
Yeah,
center
we
floors is, yeah, there's a whole grant thing that's,
Yeah, but and I wanted to ask about that, is you went through a grant process last year, were they correct? And they didn't make it?
Almost made it.
Almost made it, but we didn't make it. Is it worthwhile waiting on that? Because we have a unique opportunity now. It's a low dollar amount. We have a unique opportunity right now because the senior center is closed. And,
Yeah, they did. We got an email, the old people in town did anyway. We are open.
all right. So anyways, just a consideration, just for discussion anyways. We had a couple senior citizens that have actually tripped and fell on the seams of that carpet. Is it wise to hope for that grant to go through since it's such a low dollar amount versus what the insurance claim would be if somebody got hurt?
And Matt, Shirley Mazinski speaking, when you sent out a memo to the Capital Committee, August 12, 2020, under that, you made a note regarding the flooring, that the application was unsuccessful but highly rated, so the town is looking to resubmit this year.
now that is true.
Patrice is working on that, correct, Matt?
Yep. I shouldn't be distracted by this camera. Our shortfall on points, so we get some honest feedback from the people that read the grant applications.
Right.
We do not have an ADA commission appointed. The town has to adopt, town meeting must adopt the relevant state statute that creates an ADA commission and its authority locally, and then we have to appoint it. That is, we need a town meeting to get that done. What is like ships passing in the night, there's the deadline for the grant application, and then there's when we're gonna have town meeting. And
And when is the deadline?
I got a notice today. Let me check my email while I'm blathering on, but Patrice is not here to talk to this, but her view is she would like to,
When did we have to have a commission named? I thought something official went
so the
through
grant
like
period
10 or
was,
15 years ago.
so we have a person, an ADA officer, it's the
Yeah.
building official.
Yeah.
So he is actively engaged and
Yeah.
reviews the ADA compliance issues, and he did that for fall annual town meeting at the schools. He's the one who pushed us towards having it on the track and the football field, because that was the best ADA compatible site compared to the others that we're looking at outside, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And he would also review the appropriate configuration of disabled parking spaces.
Right, now I'm interested in this commission.
Commission, it's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget the MGL number, right?
No,
It's some funky
I'm talking
thing.
about when did it become required that towns
It's not
appoint?
required.
It's not required.
Not required. In
get
order to
points for
qualify for the
having-
grant, it's part of the point program.
Yeah, you qualify for the grant no matter what, but you get a higher score if you have a commission.
And you only
It's
could,
their way of getting us all to get a commission.
yeah.
I mean, we did vote.
Yeah, you must have been a selectman back then or something, yeah.
I was.
Yeah, I remember it, and I remember Adele
Yeah.
serving as it officially and stuff, and,
So that hasn't changed. So that's Adele's role is now Mark, and he's the ADA person.
Yeah.
well,
This is the commission.
can't Mark then appoint the commission?
No.
Or,
No.
He
No.
works for the town, right?
Yeah, but the commission has authority above and beyond the building commissioner or the ADA official.
Yes.
It must be populated with people who have, a certain number of people who have physical or other challenges. And they advise on any number of projects. It's about inclusion. And if you don't have that commission, then the people who administer this grant program don't give you all the points.
Okay, so you have to have a town meeting vote to
Adopt.
create a commission, and where does it appear? In our bylaws, under general bylaws or something? At
No, it's
one-
like any state statute with a local option.
You adopt it.
You adopt it.
Okay.
The grant closes October 9th. So Patrice's strategy this year is to apply for a much smaller amount. So last year, she applied for the ramp for outside and a covering over it and all the rugs inside and the bathroom doors. This year, she's just going to focus on the ramp is ADA compliant.
Yeah.
So she's going to focus on the interior spaces and what is not ADA compliant. So it takes too much force to open and close the lavatory doors. I don't think she's going to get to the rugs because we have I will put it politely, a remediation issue that we have to deal with. That should be done all at once. So if we're going to pull up the carpet and remove the violating tile, then we should finish the job and put new carpet down or new tile, I think she wanted new tile, and just finish the job. This 24,000 would only cover the remediation and will cover the rest of the job. Now, there's time, if this committee desires to have her come back, regardless of the grant, and say, well, do you want to ask for 50 to do all of this? Carpeting and remediation and
Oh,
retiling?
we already
I
voted.
personally would recommend that, too. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, it's short money. The liability exposure is pretty high, and it's short money to fix it. So I can ask her to work that up and
Yeah.
go back to her quotes and
Has she,
update them.
yeah, have we get some updated quotes so we can safely go to
That's not,
town meeting and get the money appropriated. I think it'd be money well spent, but,
I agree, because I don't think this 24,000 had any idea.
no, that's what happened, correct?
No, that's
Matt?
just
That
what
the-
happened, that's all.
Yeah.
yeah, so it actually was an increase, so when she asked for the money, it was to get the carpets out and tile over. It was in speccing out the job and getting quotes after the fact that somebody pulled up that carpet and said, oh, look, based on the dimension of these tiles of this size were commonly full of asbestos back in the day.
Also
That
known
would
as
register.
9x9 tiles.
9x9 tiles, so that's what they were, and that put the skids on things. There was time to apply for a grant to take care of everything, so that's what she did, using the 24 that she'd gotten for rugs as a match. And then we were unsuccessful. That's the blow-by-blow.
Yep.
I, for one, would like to see at least an estimate of having that all done. We've been messing around with this, and people have tripped. We don't need, as Mike said,
Well, from a safety standpoint, we have very little resources for the senior citizens in town.
Yep.
I think that's probably the least we could do for them is to give them a safe
you know,
environment.
speak up, people.
No, I agree. I mean, for $25,000 more dollars, if that's what it is, and no one falls and gets hurt and has to be taken in the ambulance,
So,
mean,
I
that
think
was
it's a
our-
great idea.
That was part of our capital plan.
But I'd also
will
like to
you do
speak,
that, Matt?
Yes.
speak in behalf of the radio project. I know I'm out there, and it's, you're down to Wallen Lake Terrace or up on the end of Northwest Main Street, and you need help and your radio's not getting through. It's not a good feeling to have, so I highly support this radio
Or out in
project.
the middle of the swamp trying to get a horse off a bridge?
That's correct. There you go, that's right, you were there.
I have no problem with that, let me tell you.
I know the dollar amount is up there, but I think we do this once and right. A lot of these, the batteries for the portable radios, we do that in our budgets already. The batteries, the 3 batteries we bring up to the tower at Ellie's, that's in the budget already. So I know there's maybe a little bit more cost, but I really think it's,
Yeah,
We're going
myself,
forward.
I'm on board with it. My thought process was just to make sure we identified what all the little soft costs are. just so we know it. Yeah, I'm not saying that they're going to go away. We shouldn't, if you ignore it, it's just going to be a surprise. So let's just talk about it, get it out there, and then, because people listening, they'll say, well, what do you mean we got to spend another $10,000 a year or whatever on these things? I thought we already bought it. Well, if we talk about it, then they understand that there's a maintenance charge, basically, is what it comes down to.
That's why my new mantra for sitting on this committee is to figure out what the annual costs for all these projects are.
Right.
I'm going to be putting that in my questions.
Yeah. No, it's just helpful to know what all that stuff is. We had this on for discussion now, so we probably put it on for a vote next meeting. Is that what you want to do? What do you, because I don't think we can vote on it now because it's up
What's
for
our
discussion,
timeline?
correct?
Gene, for the warrant?
When are we having town meeting?
I just saw tight. There's a tight.
Well, what I can do, Mr. Chairman, is I can ask Suzanne to put a placeholder on the warrant for a capital article. I think it's on there anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll populate that after the committee has a chance to cogitate and take your vote at the next meeting. It's good form is to discuss it in one meeting, vote the next.
Okay, so that is, will also allow for the flooring as well?
Give us a chance to get Patrice in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to meet next week? 'Cause it is-
I'll meet whatever we have to do to get through this process because we're on a tight schedule.
That would work.
Yeah, Suzanne, I don't remember the date, but Suzanne emphasized tight in it, and I know the finance committee is going to want you to have a recommendation prior to them convening, and I don't know when the board's scheduled to talk about it first.
Well, we could put it, today's only Wednesday, right? So we can put it on the agenda for the 6th of October, next Tuesday.
Who's there?
The Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, okay.
That's from Suzanne. That's all your dates. You can just move it around if you read it. No.
So it looks like the FinCom would have to vote on recommendations October 20.
Okay,
So
so
that's-
if we
that's
meet,
kind
if
of-
we meet next week, then we should be able to make our
Yeah, if you meet on the
recommendations.
7th, you'll,
If you can get on Patrice to try to get that stuff for us so we can be done with it.
That would be very helpful, 'cause
Yeah.
then I can talk to the chair of the FinCom.
Yeah.
Are we talking capital on the 6th?
Yeah, that's, well.
Is that a week
that's
from
select-
today?
Yeah,
week
that's,
from today is the 7th, right?
6, 7?
You want to do it the 6th? It doesn't matter. I just need to know so I can get my 48-hour
well,
notice.
you're probably busy on Tuesdays, aren't you?
Tuesday. Oh, the 6th is your
Selectmen?
selectmen's meeting?
At 7 PM.
So is Wednesday fine for you for the 7th?
What time?
2 o'clock works
We
for
have a
me.
quorum at 2.
Everybody else?
7?
So is that a travel time for Brandon? I don't know why he,
Yeah, but his schedule
Shift will
shifts
start at 3,
if he's scheduled to work.
if he's working that day.
Yep. And if his shift starts at 3 and we're here at 2 o'clock, we'll talk about the radios first. We've already gone through everything. If he wants to participate, has the ability to get here. He did send me an email and said that he had a commitment today. That's why he wasn't able to come, and he was working this afternoon.
So where are we at with the generator situation?
One second. I lost him.
Oh,
The generator, well, Matt had just stated a little while ago that we were going to hold off on that because we're going to get it spec'd out properly or get some more additional specs
Yeah,
on it.
and we will finalize our IT continuity of operations project. So we'll know exactly what the load is. I'm pointing back to the server room that's
Yeah.
behind me.
This
Because
got
what
put
we-
on here too soon.
No, there's
No.
definitely a strong need for it because we've
It's-
had
it's
trouble.
dying.
We've had troubles with it,
I know it.
but
The generator is needed, but again, not enough information.
well, things are changing. And recently that Matt has to have more accurate information to have it spec'd out properly.
So what, I think that initially what Adam was reacting to was the generator contractor saying, this thing is gonna die soon, you really have to
Oh.
change it out.
Yeah,
And conversation, all the thoroughness you would expect from Adam was done. So he talked to everybody,
no,
what do we
Adam does a
need?
good job.
And then what
This is a quote that actually Adam
Yeah, it was a real
that
quote from a
received.
real engineer. Now, the thing that, there are two hugely important things that have happened down at the police station. They got heat pumps like the library that have significantly changed the heating and cooling dynamic downstairs. Because one of the problems was they had electric heaters on the wall to supplement the building heat, which was insufficient. They're absolute energy hogs, right? And on top of that, we redid the windows.
Yep.
So you went to a high-efficiency heating and cooling system, and you resolved one of your major weatherization problems by closing off the drafts. That freed up load,
Very good.
but not enough. But the thought process started to occur to us, all right, well, if we're lessening the load of the building, can we get the whole building on the generator, not just critical systems? So up here, again, I'm going to point behind me, the town's servers are not on the current circuits. Only police-related equipment downstairs are on the circuits. But guess how they connect to the internet? Up here, with Wi-Fi up here. So every time we lose power in town hall, they lose the internet. So I started to look at the project, and when we started asking the guy, hey, can we use the same size generator on the same pad? And he started to say, well, no, actually, you don't want to do that. You want to move it. You'll need a bigger pad, and you'll need a bigger generator. And you need to make sure you add all the proper transfer switches and other protections that we didn't have. And I don't really think that, well, nobody around here is a generator expert, so we didn't really, or an electrician, so when it was installed, God knows when, 12 years ago.
At least.
15 years ago, they didn't pay attention to that. Every time we kick over to auxiliary power in this place now, we burn out an appliance. Last time it was a UPS. So not only did the internet go down, but our servers went down before they had a chance to boot, to close themselves off. So normally, our UPS gives them just enough power to shut down in a stable environment. We lost the UPS, so they crashed. And they had to be rebooted, which is rife with problems. Fortunately, nothing bad happened. That's where we are with it. I would rather see if we can limp through one more year and do it right in fiscal '22, knowing that our recommendation to town meeting is you do have the money and we're out of the woods with the pandemic. That's a stronger position to be in than right now where we have uncertainty and we've already asked for a fairly large project. I just feel more comfortable being conservative.
Oh, I understand. But when people say, wait a minute, you have the generator on or another project, you need to, or they need to know why. You need to be open and upfront, let
Sure.
them know.
Yeah, well,
And I do have one more point. Every annual town meeting is supposed to have capital plan on. Whether we are able to do anything or not, it is supposed to be on the warrant. And
It
if
is
we
going
have
to be included in the fall one. Yeah, it is on the schedule in the fall.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the annual.
I know, and I think it was just a miss because we didn't have any capital posted, any capital budget there, I think.
And we can just ask to pass over it at the time because we don't have the funds. And we've done that before. As long as the people know, they see the capital projects. It's not a, oh God, when did the roof, by the
Right.
way, we do have a leaky roof.
Well, knock on wood, so in this building you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I thought that's what we heard before. there was a problem with the roof.
We've heard it
The
for
roof
about
leak,
5
yeah,
or 6
the
or
We
7
did, we
years.
did have a roof leak.
The roof needs to be replaced.
Right,
When it leaks, we fix it.
okay.
When it rains, we run upstairs, like I did this morning, with the bright light of my phone, go into every room and see if there's, because it was wind-driven rain, that's usually the problem. We were clean today. The other thing,
Adam has it on a maintenance
with a
schedule.
lot of snow,
Yeah.
the water gets forced into cracks and crevices where it doesn't normally
Okay.
sit. But in terms of, is it imminently going to fall on your head, like when Socket City Hall's roof fell on my head and the mayor's head one day when we were having a meeting?
No,
No, that's not going to happen.
okay.
Okay,
It was
so,
one of the funniest moments in my life. The former mayor of Woonsocket, my friend Leo Fontaine, was a very prim and proper guy. Always wore a suit. I think he wore a suit to mow his grass. And he's standing in my office, and there's this little drip, drip, drip noise, and a little bit of a bulge in the ceiling tile over his head, and it all let go at once, and about 20 gallons of water fell on his head in his brand-new suit and his silk tie, and it was really just a unique moment.
yeah.
Sorry.
Nope, that's good.
Okay. So the other thing that we need to talk about next week when we come is to update this, since Shirley brought up the list for the
So
cap.
we'll roll it.
We need to know, in my opinion, where these funds are coming from.
Well,
But on paper, you know.
well, you have the list
Yeah.
from the email.
Yeah.
The only additional piece to that would be the 67,000 would be transfer from the old article for these 3 projects. And then my recommendation would be free cash. I mean, I should have the balance sheet submitted and free cash will be certified by the time we have the fall town meeting. That would be the recommendation for the balance. My recommendation.
Yep, and I always valued your,
I'm sorry?
I value your
Okay.
recommendation. Anybody else?
Not touching the library though. Leaving
No.
that $3,600 right out there.
Justin already
Don't you
spent
dare
it,
round
you
out
heard
the
it.
pennies.
Unfortunately, you will see pennies in that article with the exception of the free
Right.
cash. I have to close out each individual.
Absolutely.
Okay, if everybody's up to it, as far as the meeting minutes, I'd like to table that.
Sounds good to me.
Well, because we don't have everybody here, so Kent was here for a lot of them that
Yeah.
was on here. I would rather have him here if he has any input
Yeah.
into the, he can review them ahead of time and see everybody has them now, so hopefully everybody can peek through them and see if they have any edits that are in there, so we can expedite it when we do look at them.
Good point. And carry them with you, everybody. 'cause
Yeah. Other than-
Suzanne or somebody,
Unless somebody else, anybody else have anything to offer, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait one moment.
Next meeting is October 7th at 2 p.m.
2 PM, I just need to confirm with the town clerk that the room's available. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second,
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.